Hey everybody, it's Bust with Battles with Bust number 500, and today we're doing battle with the formidable Kingfisher. And so before we dive into our first variety patch video of the Fates Voyage Onward, I must say, what a ride it's been getting up to 500 battles with Busts. And so if you're not familiar with the channel, we did 500 expedition videos before that was sunset out of the game. We made the switch over into Constructed, and now we've made 500 videos of these as well. And so I'll occasionally click on those little badges in the subscriber section and see people that have been hanging out for 3 years. That's wild to me. I don't know what you all are doing. I'm surprised you haven't found something better to occupy your time with, but I certainly appreciate the people, both new and old, that are out here celebrating this 500th video with us. And it's been kind of interesting. It's been a wild ride. I was thinking back to the times of seasonals, and we qualified for every seasonals as soon as we made the switch over to Constructed. Didn't have too much success. It's a big learning curve switching from playing limited formats to Constructed, but here in the recent months we've managed to top 4 a Mastering Runeterra open event. We've managed to top 8 a Riot Open event, and then we also top cut the last Riot Open in addition to making our first foray into the top 10 of the ladder. And so it's been like quite an advancement for me personally in terms of switching over to Constructed and then getting the learning experience along the way. And I'm glad we got to share that along with you all. If you didn't care so much about the Constructed play or the decks or whatnot, I hope you at least got a deviled eggs recipe or two out of the mix. Those are going to be real useful for you here in about 2 weeks as the Thanksgiving season comes in. But with that out of the way, again, this is going to be our first variety patch video of the Fates Voyage Onward. The new dragons and such are out here. The nerfs to Cosmic Call and the nerfs to concurrent timelines are out here and evident, and we're ready to get to battle in this eternal season, see if we can't have a little bit of fun and a little bit of success as that eternal based Runeterra Open comes about. And so with this deck, I'm looking to feature one of the new cards coming out of the new set, the Kingfisher. This is an extremely powerful card to me. 9 mana, 8/8 for sure, but then when it's summoned, you draw one of each champion for your deck, and then the card, or the piece of the card that I'm mainly interested in, the big thing that draws me to the Kingfisher, is this: at each round, the first time you summon a champion, you rally. And so the idea that we're going to be taking out with this deck is you have your kind of core Formidables deck that you see across the past Eternal seasons and over the course of the past 2 standard seasons in the Fates Voyage Onward, but at the top end, we do have this kind of Volibear sigil into big dudes piece of the curve. And so while in Constructed, we've kind of moved away from playing things like Volibear and moved into playing Jarvan and Galio, and a lot of people have taken up Udyr. I'm looking to jump up the curve a little bit now that the Nylajana deck should be a little bit slower, and look to take advantage of the Kingfisher. And the biggest way we're looking to take advantage of the Kingfisher is ideally we're going to be able to cast this for 7 mana, right? I think it's a pretty big ask only playing 3 sigil cards to be able to play it for 7, but 8 mana is fine. Then the idea is that we're going to draw Lucian within that champion mix, and then we can play Lucian and Rally. And so at the 9 mana space on turn 9 of the game, we should be able to play the Kingfisher. If it's our attack token, attack. After that, if the game is not done at that point, we can play Lucian, get the Rally, and then make an attack. Then, if the game is still not officially over at that point, the next piece of the puzzle is making an open attack on the next attack token, having Jarvan come down to the board. He's another champion that will be drawing off of the Kingfisher. When Jarvan hits the board, that's the first champion of the turn, and so we get an additional Rally. And so it's giving us a lot of this really high-powered, top-end kind of rally stuff that you most of the time get from the likes of Galio, but Galio is typically not super consistent in actually delivering those rallies. A lot of boards that you'll find, he comes down and you have like 16 health of units, and then you never find those rallies, and you can't get the big game closing moments at the end. I have to imagine dropping the Kingfisher towards the end of the game just ends it almost instantly. And so, with the Kingfisher in mind, we have a little bit of a different selection of champions running through this deck. We have the 1 copy of Lucian, as we mentioned, as our cheap rally kind of card. The 2 Jarvans and the 2 Galios is the kind of meat of champions that will be playing normally throughout the course of the game, and then the single copy of Volibear that we can also tutor up with the Kingfisher and have that really big 1-2 punch of dropping the Kingfisher into the Volibear. If that's not enough to end the game, then something has gone seriously, seriously wrong. But otherwise, within this deck, we do have the Formidables package. All of the playable Formidable cards are running through here. Sorry, Formidable Dragon, you don't count towards the playable space, but everybody else is here. We have the single Sigil Generator with the Valyr's Prophet, really only looking to get 1 ramp over the course of the game. We aren't playing the other Sigil Generators as I feel they're a little bit too high-rolly for my tastes. And then we have the Darkened Spear as the kind of Formidable boosting card, while also being a sigil target in terms of Anaka. Over in the spell space, we have a pretty reasonable collection of combat tricks between the Sky Splitter, Elixir of Iron, and 3 Sisters, the interaction with Gentleman's Duel, and of course the newly nerfed Champion Strength, which is now back up to 9 mana. Snip, snap, snip, snap in terms of the Champion Strength. I still think it's very relevant in a deck like this. I find a lot of places to where we have a very weak Formidables board, and the Champion Strength is what basically heals all of our units. And so when you're ahead, it just outright wins the game. If you're a little bit behind or kind of even on board, it does heal all of those Formidables so that you can recover and get some good attacks in the future. And so that's it. That is the deck. That's what we'll be doing battle with today. But before the battles begin, you know what we got to do. We got to pay that pay-to-win price. And where you at, Kingfisher? I'm pretty hyped for you. I'm going to go ahead and pay the dollars, pay the price on that one. Hopefully, he'll search us up only the most appropriate of champions. And let's jump on in. Got to be hitting the casual queue right now. I don't know how long it takes for the ranked queue to come back up. I've been poking and poking and poking, and it won't do it. And so we're into the casuals to kick things off, but I'm sure we'll have some fun. Nonetheless, up against Kindred Hecarim, this should be a sort of challenging matchup, I would suspect. I think Kindred frightens me in terms of our, kind of on-curve Formidables game plan. Its ability to come in and just take down units like Petricite Broadwing has me a little bit in the scared space. And so we do have a real question here, is do we want to go ahead and add the Lucian to the board? I think it's probably fine. It's not going to mess up with our curve too much. We're going to play Broadwing next turn and then the Spear 2 turns from now. But if we're wanting to have that challenger on the Broadwing, Lucian would have been a nice save for a couple of turns away. But it's like one of the kind of premier ways to deal with a Kindred hitting the board is just to get the board flood and just getting a ton of units down. And I kind of think having Lucian stick, especially as Kindred is going to be just like naturally killing off all of our Formidables, he might find the space here to where he's actually going to be flipping and being much more combat relevant. But otherwise, we did land right into the Formidables curve, the Broadwing into Charger into Balin, and so hopefully we'll just start smashing real good. I'm not really amped about this challenge, actually, with the Oblivious Islander being a pretty low value target, and then we're going to want to hook Kindred a little bit later from now, but but between the Balin and the Spear, we should be able to grow the Broadwing enough to take a Kindred down. $500 battles. It's wild. I was looking back over the course of the expedition videos to see if there wasn't a memorable moment we could bring into the trial 500. And as far as I can remember, looking through it, Battle 500 was Pantheon Fiora, which is a reasonable Eternal-based deck, but I wasn't interested in bringing it. I do remember when we took our break from Expedition, that was Expedition trial number 419. That was a Kindred video. I'd finally just gotten kind of like frustrated with the situation, and I was like, well, I got to take a break. It feels like Expedition is just being kind of removed from the game, and if we're ever going to make a comeback, I want that comeback video to be number 420, and so That was the space to where we took a break, and but I did get the memory of that Kindred video, and I am very interested in playing Kindred Nasus in Eternal. I did have a kind of misread of the new Shurima card coming in out of the variety patch, the new unit that I thought it either just killed a unit or killed 3 mana gems. I didn't realize it kills up to 3 units and then sacrifices mana gems the rest of the way. I still think that there's something very interesting with that card. Like, again, my kind of piece with it is having a 9 mana or a 9 attack spell shielded unit plays fantastically with Atrocity, and we can probably develop our deck in a way to where having access to just that unit and Nasus in general is probably just enough, right? If we're going to be killing off our mana gems, we just won't play to having like 9 and 10 mana turns. But it's going to take some rebrewing. I thought it was going to be a lot easier getting that Kindred deck together, but you know, so sometimes the cards are hard to read. The cards are hard enough to pronounce, right? I'm lucky to be able to say the names on these things, but getting that text down on the first read can be pretty challenging as well. All right, but what's happening here? Are we gonna get popped by a the death mark thing, the remove a ephemeral kind of thing, or is he just attacking to stay alive? I'm curious to see. It's like we don't want to really add this Balin if he's just going to get turned ephemeral, as we're going to see here. But like I feel like just kind of passing with the turn didn't feel that great. Maybe it felt good enough to just pass the turn there. Now it's like he just doesn't attack because the Balin's too big. Make a sad noise for your boy. I think this is still okay. We have a pretty commanding position here with the double Balin and the Sky Splitter in hand. But probably should have just passed, let the Death Mark hit the little Balin, and then played the big one. Got a cat trying to hang out, though. Maybe we can get that in the video, you know? Come on, bud. It's the dumb one. This is Bernard. he jumps up on my leg like he wants to hang out, and then you move so he can jump up, and then he walks away to the other side of you. Here we go. Oh, bud. There he is. Oh man, he is just not gonna show up on the video. Got this black kitty in front of my black shirt, the little void out here. Such a delightful guy. Alright, what's happening? Opponent drops a vengeance. Sure thing. I think we still have the lethal here regardless of how he blocks. We're going to need to deal 11 off of 2 units. That's very doable. Not doable anymore. Alright, I think we're still in pretty decent shape though. Oh, there's the big time. There's the big stuff. Maybe he was just taking it slow so we could get the Kingfisher on the board. But, I mean, his attacks here seem pretty terrible. Adding a can't block unit doesn't feel that great in this space. There's the big guy. There's the big dog. I was thinking to myself, like, it would be kind of nice to be able to just throw away this Petricite Charger so that we can get the Anaka back. Right, so I think this is fine. He's out of mana at this point. We can Elixir of, or let's do this. Let's Sky Splitter onto this Formidable thing. Don't want to block the Cursed Keeper. I think these ephemerals can all go. We're not at any risk of dying. Now we'll get the Anaka back off of this Petricite Charger, and then next turn. Like, I don't think we want to actually play the Kingfisher, as unfortunate as it is. I'm gonna do it just so we can say we got it on the board, but I think the actual play here is to open attack. But we got to get the thing down. We got to draw the champions. We got to imagine how special it would be on the next turn to just drop this Volibear and catch the rally. That's what life's all about. That's what it's all about right there. Here's what's gonna happen. He's gotta find a way for us to not get the kill, and then he's also gonna have like the death mark for the Kingfisher so we can't get the rallies next turn. It's gonna be annoying as shit, but alright, we made it through. GG. On to the next one. We did it, fam. We got that Kingfisher on the board. Alright, next battle. It's interesting the champion mix in here. Like I could definitely see cutting one of the Galios just so you get to draw another champion, but it's like every single game isn't going to go to that like Kingfisher point. You may not even draw the Kingfisher every game, and so it can be kind of awkward in that sense as to where sometimes you do just want to naturally draw your good champions, and so that's why I kind of have this mix in here of Galios and Jarvan, since he is just a really strong play on turn 7, or if we've dropped a Volibear's Prophet, playing him on turn 6. And so we'll see. But we got the highlight reel draw here now, though, don't we? We got the double Volibear's Prophet into the Kingfisher, so we can drop it on 7. We're up against Trundle Freylord. I assume that this is a Feel the Rush deck. So I think we're gonna have time for nonsense, you know. the crazy's gonna have the chance to come down. Oh boy, the triple Prophet. We gotta watch ourselves here. I'm gonna get real mad when we come down and we develop all these Volibear's Prophets, and then the opponent's like, "LOL, watch this. I gotta play not She Who Wanders, but the 8-mana unit that." The 8-mana unit that does destroy all the landmarks or deal 3 damage. Now with this has like the potential to be a bummer, right? I really want to get Balin on the board, but we don't want Balin to just come down and die to quiet us. And so I think we have to go with the Petricite Charger here. If the Charger falls, like fine, that sucks. But it's not the end of the world. And then as we roll into the next turn, we can add Balin and then protect him from quiet us with the Sky Splitter. It's still... he'll still die to like Calling Strikes, but not he's gonna do better than just having 4 health. Now this is an interesting spot with Lucian as well, in the sense that, you know, if we want to make this big Kingfisher play, I think we just attack. I don't think we play Lucian. You know, it kind of sucks to draw him when we're building to the Kingfisher, but I just don't think he's the play. So what I'm going to look to do is we'll play both Volibear's Prophets next turn. And then that'll get us in this space to where we should be like open attacking and then playing the Kingfisher and then rallying and getting another attack in. I still worry about our board getting hit with like Buried in Ices and a lot of just the big cards. So here's a dragon. Gonna be seeing a lot of that guy here in the future. But the combos are ready. Let the battles begin. Ooh, what a 7-mana turn this is gonna be. This is gonna be sweet as shit, am I right? Alright, so let's get that open in. Again, I don't want to like play the Kingfisher and then have him play some dumb Buried in Ice or something, right? And so we want to go ahead and try and force some of this here. We want to try and force a lethal some way, or force him to spend some mana. Vengeance is fine. Now we should be in pretty tip-top shape. Should be. I mean, the dragon he has on board is capable of killing the Kingfisher, but one thing at a time. There's a chill in the air, bro. And Avalanche. Okay. Yeah, I don't. That's tough in terms of like, do we want to try and just present the lethal? He's gonna have 16 attack of units next turn. And we have to keep the Kingfisher back just to be able to block a Frost Guard thing, right? If he has 16 Overwhelm, we're gonna need the Kingfisher to block. I thought we were just gonna be able to be like dropping Volibears, but that's not quite on the table. So here we dropped to 4. We're going to die to Atrocity anyway, and so let's just go ahead and put the Kingfisher in. If he has the Vengeance to kill our dude, he gets it that way as well. Yep, GG. Ooh, that's my first experience playing against that dragon, and it went exactly how I thought it was going to be. In the sense that when I saw the Freylord dragon, I was just basically like, okay, so you just play this card, and then if you get to untap on your next attack token, you just win the game. And so it's like you just play the dragon. You go into the next turn, you play a Harsh Winds or something so that you don't die, and then you're like, cool, deal with this. All right, into the next one, though, up against Akshan Pantheon. We need to have a little bit more of an early game start. We can't be running around with these Kingfishers. I don't really want Balin either. We can't attack with him until turn 5. Need some earlier stuff. We'll hang on to the blocking Badger Bear just as kind of a safety valve, so that we don't run into this problem of hitting turn 3 with no units to put on the board. All right, the attack's coming in. Drawn both of our Jarvans. A little annoying for the Kingfishers. I'm not certain this game would ever last to the point to where we could get a Kingfisher on the board. I would like to think that Pantheon can just OTK you by that point, but maybe not. Alright, let's get the Scholar off the board while we can. He does get the lucky find for the Bakai potentially, but not getting any free spells or free cards off of the Scholar that he had. He picks up Challenger. Okay, we'll just send it. I think that was a reasonable exchange. I think we could have attacked first, but yeah. Yeah, who wants to attack? The thing with attacking is you can play the Gentleman's Duel as a combat trick, so that it just gives the +2 and doesn't do the strikes, and we would have survived the combat there.
Scores to settle, cooks to kill. You know how it is.
All right, a bit of an awkward hand. I would prefer to have 2 ways to strike at this action here. He has a lot of ways to survive out of this. And, you know, as he starts casting combat tricks onto action, it's, you know, very easy for us to just fail. But that was okay. Like, the thing that worries me is that if he casts, say, like, any of the +1/+1s onto action, he gets the target onto action and he gets the strike. But that felt like kind of a win. I guess he could be trying to grappling hook now, but yeah, you know. Just thinking hard on it. Do I really want to spend a grappling hook on a 0/2 unit? It says no. No thank you, bust.
In and out.
Right. We can put a little bit better pressure onto action now. Hopefully he doesn't hit Spell Shield off of this Lucky Find, but if we get to try and Gentleman's Duel him now, and if that fails, we have the Jarvan summon on the open attack next turn. It gets us pretty close to the takedowns. Find's tough. interesting. Let's keep at it. And this is like, I don't know. I feel like we've been really just kind of giving it to him with this action. The Expanse's protection is fine. You still get the bonuses, and the strikes should be canceled. Yeah, the animation was a fake news animation hitting the screen. Hey, not bad though. Strong attack rolling through. Jarvan's on the board. We got the second Jarvan in hand, so that we have this mana now to where we can like Cataclysm our current Jarvan, get the shuffle on the champion spell back into the deck, and then Kingfish the Jarvan back into hand. I hadn't thought of that. I wonder if that's like an interesting and compelling reason to just play like a bunch of copies of the same champions. I guess not, right? We're in this kind of awkward spot to where we only have like 2 copies of Jarvan. But knowing that you're drawing those champion spells is kind of interesting. I never looked at it in that way. I was just like always like, okay, well we have to play this thing just for value, right? And that value is always just going to be the physical champions that we're going to put on the board. I never thought of it as like, well, you're potentially drawing a champion spell, and so it makes it. I could see that, like a world where you say want to play one Lucian, one Volibear, one. He's gonna take it away from us here. I'm not gonna let him get this siphoning strike. Yeah, so you play like 3 copies of Jarvan, knowing that if you have Jarvan on board, you're gonna be drawing into Cataclysm. It's interesting. Of course, we draw our Galio. Get the big boat. Boats and hose. I've not got to say something like boats and hose in this one yet, you know? It's a sad day. It's a sad day. This is another one of these spots. You have to worry a little bit about losing our Kingfisher in combat. This Wandering Shepherd plus a like Targonian Tailstones is enough to take down the Kingfisher, and I'm curious if we just like win the game anyways, right? I mean, we have Volibear and Galio in hand, so my concern is we make this attack next turn. He blocks the Kingfisher with the Wandering Shepherd. He plays a +3 attack combat trick on it, or he blocks and then shoots the Kingfisher with action or something, and then we can't get the rally. I just have to imagine that being like, okay, I didn't get the rally, but here's fucking Volibear. I think it seems like that has to be enough to survive the day. Like, the amount of investment he has to make in taking down the Kingfisher just to follow up with Volibear. I don't know, that seems tough for the opponent. I'm sending. I want Jarvan at the end, though. Boats and hose, boats and hose. Gonna get me some boats and hose. Step Brothers is far and away one of the greatest movies ever made. Highly recommend you go out and watch that one. It's a little. I wonder if it's too old for the kids these days. Like, I think of the movies I had when I was growing up, and like the ones that are just influential on you. When it's like you're watching a movie in middle school, and it's like you kind of know the comedy is stuff you shouldn't say, and so that makes it funnier. And for us, that was like Ace Ventura, Pet Detective coming out. Had a lot of it, and then Dumb and Dumber also had a lot of that feel to it, to where it was a bunch of stuff to where you weren't supposed to say it, but you said it at school. You just didn't say it in front of your parents. And as time has progressed, I was trying to think of when Step Brothers came out. Like I think it was like 2010 or so, 2008, between 2008 and 2010. Was that like 15 years ago? We got a bunch of boomers in this channel, so y'all's was probably in high school then, but it's tough to tell. All right, what are we up against? Bandle City PNZ, no champion. This is typically the Banana Blaster concurrent timelines, and I'm curious where concurrent timelines stands. I don't think the nerf to timelines is enough to really push it out of the game. I think that I'm going to keep this unit around. I know that we have some higher quality Formidables in hand, but if we get to keep the Hound on board as we move into Balin, it's gonna be a kind of scaling unit for this triple Formidable draw. But no, like I think that like Trundle is still on the table, right? And I'm pretty certain that Jax Vi is still on the table, but it's just interesting as to where you used to be like just auto doing it, like the entirety of your deck was set up in the sense that you're playing the turn 2 concurrent timelines into the 1-drop Weapon Master and then just playing Weapon Masters every turn after that. Like that's Jax Vi, or you know you're playing the Trundle thing on turn 8. But I'm curious if, you know, if you just play like a little bit different of a game to where, you know, the first timelines activation that you do is a that's fucking annoying. Is a what's his name? Just say like a combat cook, and then like the forge unit that costs 5 mana, and then you play Trundle, and then you play the Trundle Ice Pillar 2 turns after that. Like, I'm curious if that's enough, and it doesn't feel like enough, but I'm curious. It's pretty close. I just kept looking at stuff like I kept wanting to play the Janna bird, the 5-mana 2/2 that draws 2. That was the one that I wanted to keep fitting into timelines. I kept trying to work it out, and it didn't quite come together. But I thought that might be the space to where it finds a home. Ooh. This would be a pretty choice turn for a champion strength if it still cost 8 mana. But in this spot, like, I don't want to add Lucian. I feel like Lucian's just going to die to anything. Literally anything coming out of PNZ Bandle City. A Pie Toss, a Pokey Stick, a Mystic Shot, something. Like, I don't think Lucian is worth adding onto this board. I think we're really looking more towards just saving him for this Kingfisher if the game really grinds on. Maybe it's okay. Maybe he can't kill him at this point. Because, like, we can champion strength next turn anyway if we want. If he tries to play a spell, we could potentially just Gentleman's Duel. But maybe, yeah, see, there's the Pokey Stick. I was like, maybe we're okay with just trading a Mystic Shot for Lucian, getting a 2 mana for 1 mana trade. I don't know. That didn't sequence out very well, but I think I probably should have just held. This is where he starts to look better, though, right? I was curious if we were going to be able to play Lucian, have him survive, right? We could have saved the Gentleman's Duel for him, and then, you know, when he's on board with Galio and the future champion strength, he does a lot of really high-powered stuff, and so. Still gonna flip this Galio as it stands. He's at 26 anymore. Okay. Do we want to open? I don't think. Well, the Petricite Hound is the one that's kind of in danger here. Let's do this. Let's open. I assume he's just going to come out and block this stuff. We can follow up with the Hound and then champion strength after. That feels like it should be enough to end this. Definitely feels better with Formula coming down. Interesting. He's got all these Chime cards, but he's not playing Nora. Your Guardians may be free, but we're still bigger. Not allowed to play Champion Strength anymore, right? It costs 9 mana. You say, nope, not allowed to do that. Sure. As it stands, we have lethal on board, but I kind of want to... I kind of want this turn to go on so that we can play the boat next turn and then do the boat Jarvan play. just utilize our embarrassment of riches. Good stuff. Next battle. So have you all been keeping up with your deviled eggs recipes? I've already got the requests coming in. I've already got to do it. I have to do 2 Thanksgivings this year, which I've had to do up to 4. And definitely not doing 4 this year. I think I only have 2. And... I'm always curious with these hands when we have the Durandi Sculptor if we want to hold on the Hound, but I don't think he's going to do much better. But no, but like I have to make the regular rounds of deviled eggs for 2 separate Thanksgivings, but then I'm also on this kick to where I have to make the specialty ones, and so I think I'm going to do pumpkin. Like last deviled egg event, I did like goat cheese pimiento or something. I put some kind of pepper thing I'd never heard of. They were fucking choice. But I think being the pumpkin season, you know, might just go for the might just go for the pumpkin flavored ones. You still bring the classics, right? You don't want anybody disappointed in the deviled egg sitch. You know, you don't want to be the deviled egg guy showing up with without the classics, and so we'll do those as well. But for my side of the family Thanksgiving, we gotta have all the goods. All right, though, not a bad Formidable's curve here. We could look to add Lucian. Against Samira Sejuani. Like, what's the worst thing that happens with how this curved out? He plays some rando 5-drop. I think we want to add the Hound. I kind of want to take that back, as I was like, well, we could just champion Strength next turn. And if we want to champion Strength, we probably want a Sky Splitter this turn. And if we want a Sky Splitter, we kind of don't want the Hound on the board so that we can champion Strength next turn. But man, these Formidable attacks are just too good. All right, well, I think we can hang on to the trick. See if he's got a troll chant or something to save the big boy. Nope. All right. Well, that at least worked out pretty reasonably in terms of tempo. Like now, if he just adds a Sejuani to hook in our Balin, I guess that's fine. I don't know. I don't like any of this. I do like Revna coming down. That's completely fine. Revna is not the answer here. The North is ours. Man, if y'all feel bad about eating pumpkin stuff, don't be a basic bitch. That shit tastes so good. I don't like coffee. Coffee tastes so bad. I can't drink that, so I'm not out here getting pumpkin spice lattes, but I get so hyped when it's time for like pumpkin cookies and pumpkin breads and pumpkin pastries and shit. So good. So good. Somebody calls you a basic bitch, say fuck you. I know what tastes good, and it's pumpkin spice. All right, into the next one. We'll probably call this our last one. We're going to get pretty close to the hour mark after this, and so see how it goes. We are up against the what would have been the Cosmic Call deck in the previous meta. I'm curious if that's what we're up against here again, but a pretty reasonable start nonetheless against it. We have the blocking Badger Bear to potentially get in front of Zoe. We have the Petricite Broadwing as a potential challenger as well. And so he didn't lead off with her. That's very good for us. I'm curious, like, what new additions this deck gets. I assume that they're going to play Mariam, and they might be playing the 1/4 healer. And so I think the open attack is probably just better than dropping Broadwing. Interesting. He discards Sump Monument. Does he have 2? I didn't mean to play Broadwing. I meant to play Durandi Sculptor. Got a little distracted, but I think it'll be okay. So do we just want to pivot into these sculptors now? It's a little bit off mana, but I think it's okay. It would have just been a little bit better if we got to play the sculptor last turn. This turn we could play a Petricite Charger, then 2 turns now we could add the Broadwing and the second sculptor. Just a little bit sloppy in terms of our mana. Let's take it slow. We've got this champion strength here, and I do kind of like just adding in the sculptors on sculptors. We're not getting any like really strong combats on this turn, and might as well just build up the stats on all our friends here. And we're going to be looking to champion strength 3 turns from now, 2 turns from this active turn. On opponent's next attack token is when we're going to try and drop the champion strength in. So what you got, Victor? You're brash now? The Sunken Temple. Yeah, we got to win this one fast. But, man, that's wild. There's just like so much greed in this between playing both Sunken Temple and playing playing the Sump Monument package. Maybe he's just not playing the Cosmic Call package and he's doing something with the Sunken Temples. Let's see where this gets us. We have some options here in terms of, do we want to try and take this Victor down? We can Sky Split onto the Broadwing, keep the mana for next turn, and then still be able to go into the Champion Strength, or do we just want to add a Badger Bear and get a normal attack in? And I'm leaning towards normal attack here. It's just very, very, very easy for this to go wrong. LOL. If we, like, boost the Broadwing into Victor and then he just has a burn spell. We LOL'd because he played the Mountain Scryer and missed. That's what you get. I mean, you've got a board of Victor and Sunken Temple, and you cycled away a. Oh, God damn it! This is the place where the 8 mana champion strength is quite missed. Right, if we going into the next turn with 7 mana and 1 bank, we could champion strength, or we could have Sky Split, but can't do that now. We got the big units. It's just like this is these awkward spots to where you just can't play around anything because of the Sunken Temple. It's like, well, I'm not gonna play around Sump Monument, right? He's already discarded one, and he's just drawing a fresh hand literally every turn of the game, and so it kind of is what it is. There's nothing you can do about it. It's like, did you magically hit one of your 2 remaining Sump Monuments in that handful of cards you just drew? I don't know. If you didn't have the Sunken Temple, we could make, more of an informed decision, but this way, there's no telling. But where are we at? We got 150 puff caps in 27 cards. We'll have to see if he's got a... Oh, it's just... you can't be happy. What a horrible combo. I didn't even think of how horrible the oh my gosh, it's like, is he even gonna die? I didn't even think of how horrible a combo it is to have a Sunken Temple with the Sump Monument on the board. I would like to draw 8 cards with this thing down. LOL. I'm glad we could end on that note. And so, not a bad set of games. Let's take a moment, pull this up. We can talk about it a little bit more. And so, it's pretty reasonable at its heart and at its core. You should be very familiar with the Volibear Valyr's Prophet thing from the last season tied into the Formidable's deck. It's been a deck that, in my opinion, Volibear wasn't actually competitive. I think that he was just kind of a meme, and the deck being good against Nyla Janna was a function of the Formidables and not so much Volibear. And as we played and got ready for the Open, it was just like, oh, this deck is very good against Nyla Janna. I can cast Volibear literally 0% of the time. And so let me take out the Prophet, let me take out the Volibear, and we can drop our curve a little bit. And now we're looking, pretty juicy and pretty spicy. But I was curious as we entered this space of Eternal, now that Janna has gotten nerfed a little bit and she's not nearly as aggressively oriented, if we couldn't switch over to this space to where the Valyr's Prophet along with the Kingfisher would be combat relevant. And so, on day 1 of the meta, it felt pretty strong. It felt pretty reasonable. Is it just like outright better than some of the other things you could be doing? I don't know. That's the way that the meta is going to have to really kind of wait and develop. And so as we saw, like the previous Eternal season, there was not a ton of Pirates decks and really like hyper aggressive decks running around because of Cosmic Call. Like as we saw that last opponent, if you really wanted to beat a deck like Pirates, you could most certainly beat Pirates with Cosmic Call. You can play the little Stellacorns, you can play all of the various heal spells, you can play the Sump Monument, Start Lit Epiphany kind of combo, and you can really like give Pirates and all of the onboard aggressive, like summon a bunch of unit style decks a ton of trouble. And so that's what really pushed you into that kind of mid-rangey space to where, well, if you want to be able to beat that kind of defensive wall, you have to Elusive Overwhelm or Rally. And so you can play Scouts, you can play Jax Ornn, you can play things like Aatrox Vayne to go over that wall. Now, it was kind of awkward in the previous season that Cosmic Call did put this like hard wall on the kind of slow decks that you were able to play. Is not one of these metas to where like, okay, well, if you're going to play these like really hyper defensive style Cosmic Call decks, that I'm just going to be more control-y than you and beat you that way. They just had the ultimate control package, and so you couldn't switch to say like playing Ezreal or playing Karma or something because Cosmic Call was so obnoxious. But we're getting kind of off topic on the point here. But what I'm trying to kind of get at is, depending on how mid-rangey the format makes itself, and with all of the updates to Shadow Isles, how much removal we start to see in these formats, the Kingfisher can actually be a pretty legitimate card in terms of just a nice value engine and a nice piece of top end to where you can come in and play your absolutely giant unit and then draw 3 and 4 champions off of it and use that as your kind of late game finisher, especially now that we're in this world that champion strength has been nerfed and it kind of isn't as viable as an option as it used to be. And so I was actually quite impressed with how it played out. I like this kind of split of things that we have as to where we still have some Jarvans and we still have some Galios. We can still get them in play and on curve and on time, but we do have that additional aspect that ties into the Kingfisher as well. And I'm sure some of you out there are going to get to do obnoxious stuff to where you say play a Naka, you attack with a Naka and hit the Kingfisher. This is a summon ability, right? Yeah, when I'm summoned. And so you summon a Kingfisher off of a Naka, draw all the champions, and then play Lucian and attack again. Like, you win that game. And so we didn't get to do any nonsense like that, but it's certainly something that is on the table as you battle with a deck like this. But nonetheless, I was happy with this. I'm curious if you can't just completely cut the champion strengths. Now that you have the rallies out of Galio and the rallies out of Kingfisher, they do a bit of replacement effect in terms of chasing down those rallies, and that can open you up for a little bit more interactivity. I wouldn't mind having just a little bit more combat tricks in here, probably Elixir of Irons and probably a singular copy of Harsh Winds, but it seems like Champion Strength, it was still good, right? We still had a lot of very good games here with Champion Strength, and so I don't know. It feels like we're like 35 cards on the way to something, and we just got to kind of figure out those last 5 cards, and we'll be in a pretty good spot. But nonetheless, good set of games. I had fun with that. I hope you did too. Thank you for stopping by for Battles with Bust number 500, because that is going to do it. And so I hope everyone enjoyed the video. I hope you maybe learned a thing or two along the way, and you had a good time watching. This is Bust, and we thank you for being here.